Welcome to Uncopyable Women in Business. I'm Kay Miller, also known as Muffler Mama. I've been the #1 salesperson in a male-dominated industry, a successful entrepreneur for over 30 years, and now my mission is to help you build a business and brand nobody else can compete with. If you're ready to break out of the pack and create your own uncopyable advantage, stay tuned. My guests and I are here to help. Today, I'm talking with Annette Conrad, founder of Edible Impressions. Annette turned custom cookies into a serious business. After more than 2 decades as an event planner, Annette combined her talent for creating unforgettable experiences and her love of cookies. What began as a passion project has become a nationally recognized brand that helps companies make an impact one beautifully crafted cookie at a time. Annette, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be here chatting with you.
And I found you on LinkedIn. We connected on LinkedIn. And when I learned about you, I thought, I absolutely want you to be on the show. A lot of business owners listen to the show, and a lot of people, women who want to start a business, maybe now or someday. So this will be really a fascinating story. And I'd like you to start by telling us a little bit about your background in the event industry, I assume, and then how that all led to creating this company.
Sure. Well, thank you so much again. So yeah, I didn't realize that I had a love for events planning until I was kind of just put in the middle of it. And I had worked for the university here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So you know where I'm tuning in from. So at Marquette University. And honestly, I just stumbled into that position there, which is kind of crazy when I look back. It was a position for reservationist. And not really knowing much about the university and about planning, I just thought, you know what, I'll give it a try. I had been doing temporary work. I was working at a temporary service full time and just needed something new. And 24 years later, leaving in the capacity of associate director at Marquette University, and then really kind of doing the microphone drop after 24 years of service, I found my passion decorating cookies. So it's just kind of a funny story, but it's fun to look back and just realize that I never knew the event planning experience and all that I learned over those years and all the connections and networking and all the events that I attended would turn into this cookie business that is now, of course, my livelihood. And let me tell you, okay, when I left Marquette and I kind of gave my notice, people were scratching their head going, wait, you're leaving to do cookies? And it was like, it was so much more than a cookie. And I didn't really have time to explain it to everybody. And I'm like, yeah, I am. I am. And it's just been great ever since. So yeah, so now I've got the events planning and I've got my love for decorating cookies, and it just turns into this experience. Which is a word that I really like to use when I'm talking with my clients or prospective clients, because it's so much more than just a cookie.
And we mentioned before we recorded, I actually have a program called The Experience is the Marketing. And of course, cookies might be easier than some products to make a great experience around. But, you know, a cookie isn't just a cookie in your case. They are beautiful, stunning, really. You're talented, and they're delicious and all of the things we think of with cookies, but you have put more behind that, a brand and a story. So how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I said, I started really as a side gig. I recognized when I was in my capacity at Marquette that we were looking for something different when we were doing our catered events. And luckily, the catering department was open. They saw that I was doing this for fun. I started decorating cookies with my family. And I really just started with nonprofit organizations. I was making some donations, and all of a sudden they started to get a little traction. People were noticing them. And for a bit, I was doing them for, again, nonprofits and just for fun. And then all of a sudden I realized, like, wait a minute, I got something here. And so when I got that first order, I really thought, you know, this is something that people want, and there's definitely a need. And I just kind of went with it, honestly.
Well, I am wondering about the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say, because as we talked about a few minutes ago, I do talk with people who want to become entrepreneurs. Everyone says, oh, I wish I owned my own business, and not realizing what that really means, right? But we want to be business people. We want to make our mark, share our passion. But sometimes a good idea doesn't turn into something that's really profitable. So I'd like you to share, what do you think made that difference for you?
Yeah. And I definitely dabbled while I was working full time. I've always been somewhat of a creative person. And so I did I don't want to date myself, but I did the card making and the stamping, and I was making jewelry, and I was monetizing making jewelry. And, the cookies just stuck. And honestly, for the first really couple years, I didn't think that I would ever be my livelihood. But I think what happened was I started to build relationships, and the orders started to come in on a more regular basis. And I do have the personality where I feel like I'm dedicated, committed. I don't want to put myself in a box, but type A personality. I love to try things. I'm not worried if they didn't work out. So there's some amount of, do you have a good product? Do you enjoy what you're doing? Is there a market for it? And do you want to sustain the time that it takes to create a business? So there's so many variables. It's really hard to kind of answer that really quickly. But, I think, and I was just talking to somebody about this who has a new business that she's starting. And the one thing I told her is, please wait, give yourself time. It's not going to happen overnight. And you really have to wait, because I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but it's amazing on how many businesses start and then they stop, but they stop too soon. Like, they have a great concept. If you believe in it and you found the market for it, then stick with it. But I think people just give up because they want that immediate, I got to make money. And it's like, you know what? My business has grown with 0 ads from really giving it away for 2 full years, honestly. And that really has come back. It's still coming back to me from being generous. You be generous, you show, you share, you constantly talk about your passion, and good things will happen.
That's true. You get what you give. I totally believe that. And you are passionate, and you're not exactly a wallflower. You said your grandmother said you were a radio.
She did. Yeah. She told me to turn around one day. I said, why? And she said, I'm looking for the off button. She's wonderful.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Well, who doesn't love cookies? But your message about don't quit. I know we talked before about what mind shifts that you need to have if you really want to become a successful business owner. And that is a big one. When you say how many businesses fail, I don't know. It's tremendous, the percentages. But you know what else fails a lot is podcasts. If you look through podcasts, there are so many podcasts that just go for a little while, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. I'm in 2 years in, and I get a lot of people apply for the podcast now, because once I hit that, 2 years and 200 episodes, almost 200, that really has put me on the map. But the really big podcasts, they have been out there for a long time. So I have to echo your sentiment. Don't quit, because there's no chance you'll succeed if you quit. So,
yeah. And it's a shame, because there are a lot of really good podcasts that I've listened to, and they just started to get traction. And then I look, I'm like, oh my gosh, their last episode was 6 months ago. It's like, oh, like, why? They had something really good and they just quit. It's like,
well, and podcasts,
well, keep it up. Don't quit.
I won't quit. Podcasts take a lot, they're work. They take time.
Oh, yeah.
But
Sure.
Who knows where that is going to go? And one fringe benefit, a huge fringe benefit, is how much I've learned. I'm inspired. I'm going to get off our call today feeling like on top of the world. I could go get them. So yeah, there are a lot of things that go into a podcast. But building a business, yes, very daunting. And so it's grit. I think with you, it's just also grit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think another thing that when you talk about mindset, it's being open to changing your mind. I have a really quick story. When my son was in college, when I was working, and he saw the business, he actually did a presentation on it, and he saw how it was growing, and he's like, Mom, you got to do this. You got to do this. And I'm like, the moons just weren't quite aligned, and I'm glad that I didn't pull the trigger to go further or to get a bigger space or do all that, because my moose, if you will, was not right. It just wasn't aligned, because what I was doing and for who I was doing it for was not going to be sustainable. We don't do small batch. We do a minimum 24, but they're also corporate, which leads to bigger events and orders. But doing an individual hand frosted cookie for the personal celebrations, we really had to put almost a complete stop to those for us to get to that next level. We still do them selectively, but I'm glad that I didn't do it then, because now, it's taken us a couple of years to really drill down using my superpower, which is, again, my events planning and my corporate friends, trade shows, conventions, corporate gifting, virtual decorating experiences. I've got some partnerships now, and now it is just exploding. And so when we talk about mindset, it's keeping open and not getting set in your ways and say, you know what? Okay, I've got this idea. I've got this passion. I love decorating cookies. I love making baby shower cookies. But you know what? That is now my hobby. But my corporate gig, that is my livelihood. That's my business. That's also my passion. But those two worlds can't collide anymore because they were getting in each other's way. So you really have to just be like, okay, and constantly change. We'll continue changing. But the more we change, the better it gets, honestly. And less is more. Oh my gosh, we could talk about a whole half hour about less is more. But the more I let go, the easier it is. I just kind of laugh and giggle because I look back and I'm like, oh, I made it so much harder than it needed to be. Harder.
Well, yeah. And I wish, hopefully we'll have maybe a few minutes to talk about that too.
Yeah.
I love, you really were strategic from the beginning. I think that really is a big pitfall that business owners fall into. They want to buy your cookies. Lovely. But could you scale that? No, you could not scale that. And I think, as also as a business owner, it's sometimes hard to say no, right? I can't say yes to that because here's my focus. Here's where I'm going.
Yeah, that was a big lesson that I learned, saying no. And realizing that when I say no to something, or when I say yes to something, I'm sure you've heard this, you say no to something else. And I've gotten really good at saying no, really good at it. But again, it's only helped the business and it's helped my team members. It's helped my partners, my existing clients. It's like we take rush orders, but again, very selectively, as long as it does not compromise what we've already committed to. But it's very easy to say yes, yes, yes. And for a long time we did. But you know what? Who stayed up late night to do that? So self-inflicted. And so, yeah, a lot of lessons learned there for sure.
So those are some good ones. Those are some really good ones. And yeah, to have the long range plan, the big picture in mind, really wise and hard earned wisdom, it sounds like. But you also had this background and you are a relationship builder. You were already in the events industry. So how did you use that to connect? Because you're selling hopefully people understand, to corporations. Why don't you explain how your product is used?
Yeah. And it's funny because for the longest time, I didn't really talk about my event planning and I didn't have that really front and center. And I thought, well, that's craziness and I realized it as I was shifting and, finding my moose, who are my people that I really truly enjoyed working with, who I could speak their language, who I was in their shoes. So when that phone rings and I pick it up and I can hear the tone of that executive or that event planner or that experiential director who forgot to order a sweet treat or who forgot to call me for their next order. And that just happened recently, even though I sent a reminder and then she's like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Well, things happen, but I know how to respond. I know how it feels to be in their shoes. And so I can react and respond and offer suggestions. And I try not to say no to those people because I know like the sense of urgency that comes with that kind of work.
You feel their pain.
You know what? And the relief when they have a resolution. And I mean, people tell me all the time, oh my gosh, Annette, you and your team like saved me. And bottom line is like, okay, they're cookies. Really? Like if your trade show goes on, you don't have cookies, but boy, it feels good to be the hero. But again, I'm not the hero. I always say, you know what? You're the one. I don't announce it to the world. I don't post, oh my gosh, we, sent out 2,000 cookies short notice for this client. We would never do that. It's not about us. It's about them and we're providing a service, but I would hope that we're being more of a partner with them. And that I think has really been how I've taken my events and my background into working with our clients is like, I'm like on their team. I try to be like, okay, like I'm here to help you. We're here to serve. When people say, oh my gosh, I have another question. I'm sorry. I'm like, no. Ask as many questions as you need. We're here to serve you. I mean, we're here. If your numbers go up, go down, no problem. But sometimes they apologize. I'm like, okay, you should be apologizing because we're here to solve your problem and help your clients because there's always another client.
And I would think with that level, the verticals of those clients and also word of mouth, it sounds like, I know you don't do advertising, right? So it's not just you and your word of mouth, but your customers, your happy customers, their customers. That I'm sure that's why a big part of why your business has exploded. Hey there. I've got something for you that can change the way people see you and your business. It's my free guide, 25 Uncopyable Action Steps. These are real, practical steps you can use starting today to separate yourself from your competition. If you want your own uncopyable advantage, grab the guide at beuncopyable.com/action-steps. Now, back to the show.
And part of it is also, how I get that word of mouth is, not only, with our existing clients, and of course our ingredient label and our contact is on there, but when we do our corporate gifting and when we do shipping out boxes, really besides that little ingredient label, our stuff is not on there. It really is about the company. But where I think we've got a lot of word of mouth, and you can see this little sign behind me, this is from an event this week. I participate. I go to events, particularly for our nonprofits and our corporations. If they have an event, I go to their events. I participate, and that is huge. I mean, I'm in a room with my client and then their clients or their partners. And I mean, I'm excited to go to the Baird Center next month for a holiday party with this Wisconsin Center District and visit Milwaukee. And I'm right now in conversations with them to become a sponsored partner. And of course, I'm going to go to their holiday party. Why wouldn't I, or they're open to the public board meeting. I'm going to that too. I mean, so what I do is I get out there and I learn and I listen. I'm taking notes. I'm information gathering. That was the one big thing I learned in events planning is information gather and then be strategic, so that's a little bit of behind the scenes.
Well, you are a go-getter. It makes it more fun to be a go-getter when you're so passionate about your product and what it can do. You're serving the nonprofit market, etc. I love the fact that you said you speak their language. That's a big thing we talk about, your moose. When you hone in on who your moose is, you can speak to them in a way that makes sense to both of you. And since you have this background, it makes it even, a perfect fit. And of course, the info gathering and the listening. Oh my gosh, I started in sales, outside sales, and then all these years I've been working marketing and sales and branding for a business. But sales and everything is listening. And as you said, you're a radio. I'm a talker also. So it's a real discipline often to dig in and say, I want to know about you. This is about you. Interesting that you don't even have your label on your box. That is very telling.
Right. I mean, some folks would like us to, but we're very sensitive to that because, when their holiday gifts, for instance, when they open that box, we want that recipient to see, oh, wow, this came from Boot Barn, or this came from Google or Dior or whatever it is. And those are all three of our clients. But, instead of saying, oh, edible impressions, I mean, it's great. I mean, our branding is on the back, but it's not front and center because it really is about that company who's taken that time to send this meaningful gift. When they open it up, it just screams their brand, which is what it should be about. We're that catapult, we're that vessel for them to get to that wow factor for their clients. And putting edible impressions, it's kind of like when you get swag. It's like the last thing your team wants is the name of the company on a mug. Like, write a quote, write something fun. We've got little bags that we give out, but it says, you know what? Every cookie has a story. Thank you for making us part of yours. A simple thing, but it goes such a long way. And I mean, the edible impressions is on there, but it's not front and center. That quote is like more of what we want to, in terms of the message. So
I think that's brilliant. I think it's brilliant. And most of us, we want we want our information on there somewhere. And as you said, how many pens do we have? What do I have on my pen today? Enumclaw Garden Club. So I don't even know where I got that, but that is a pretty powerful statement to not put your info on the package. With us, I have to throw in what we do. It's
Sure.
Because we teach all of this, and our branding color is orange. So that gives us a great way to also not put promotional stuff on the outside, is that everything is orange. Everyone knows what that means. But however you figure this out, like Annette's talking about, think about ways to make it about the customer so that they can gift that to someone and feel really good about that. I think that's very valid. So let's talk about future entrepreneurs. or people who have new businesses. And I know we've talked about some of your advice, but I know your brand is so personal and your brand naturally attracts clients. What advice would you give to someone else who's starting a business?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're starting a business and you want to know if you want to validate it, I caution you on talking necessarily to your family and friends because, you're going to get the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it may not always be the advice or the thoughts that you want to hear, especially early on, because you can get very discouraged very quickly, or you could get motivated. It just depends on who you're talking to. But you want really some objective feedback. So it's good to share, definitely, especially if you're, your spouse, your partner, you want to make sure that whatever you're dedicating time-wise and financially wise, you want to make sure you're on the same page. But I would say, be careful, when you're doing that. I mean, like your program, I would say find something I did not do early on. I wish I did. And I'm only doing that now is find a community, find a course, find something that you can really learn and follow. So if there's a roadmap, I mean, right now I don't really have one. I have a Facebook group. So I do a little bit of teaching and more kind of one-on-one and group Facebook masterclasses. But that would be one thing that I would urge people to do is just find a community of people that are in the same area that you are, but also find a community that has some that are ahead of you. So it's good to see where people are, like if there's that perfect group of like people that are behind you, same place. It's kind of like running a marathon. And then the ones that are ahead of you, because you can motivate people to get them where you are. You can be relating to the people that are exactly where you are, but then you've got the people that are going to inspire you. So right now I'm struggling to find a group. I'd like to get back into a community because there's a lot of them that are just, about money, scale. And I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for motivation, inspiration, things like that. So anyway, getting back to your question about motivate and like new business owners. And here's the thing, the other thing I'm going to say really quickly is if you have a concept and you're worried about imposter syndrome, because this came up with someone that is starting a business that I know, and she was kind of worried because there's so many people that are doing it. And I'm like, okay, no, that's a good thing. If there's a need then, if you see so many other people doing that service or that product, that is your validation. Do it, but do it differently. And I know you talk about that in your book. And
Oh, yeah.
Great chapter that I urge people to read your book because it's very, very good. And it is so important to not copy and not even mirror, but look what they're doing. So market research, look at what they're doing. That confirms that you have something, but then what can you do differently to make it your own? And may I use your word? Be uncopyable. It's like brilliant. That's so, so important because you don't want to look like everybody else. You don't. And so I think that's a big one because it's very tempting when you start a business. You're like, oh, I'm going to make candles. I want them to look just like this candle shop. They have such cute colors. I'm like, well, now what have you done? Especially if they've got traction, you're not going to get noticed and they're going to get confused. So I think, kind of holding your ground and making a statement for yourself is super important. Super important.
Too many things I'm taking notes on. I like the fact that you say validate your business idea by finding out if others are doing it. I talk to clients, prospects who say, no one else is doing this, so I'm going to come out and be the one who does it. Boy, that's a big hard sell, isn't it?
It could be a red flag.
It's a red flag, and we call getting ideas from outside your world stealing genius. So yes, you take what they're doing, you figure out how can I make it my own. And so within your industry, you can do that. And especially outside your industry, we're all uncopyable. I know you talk about authenticity in your story. So I think that we just need to be more open about that, about, who we are and be authentic and make ourselves different. We are uncopyable. I love to say that there are 7 billion people on the planet. No two fingerprints are alike. So you already are unique and uncopyable. So make that part of your message. Super powerful. And let's see, I can't remember. You're a great networker. That's what I wanted to say too. I've heard it's not who you know, but it's who knows you, which and being involved in Facebook. And you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I think that's a big trait of the very best leaders. So you're talking about that, having people that you can mentor and help, but also having people that will mentor and help you to get to the next level. So much here. Let me see what else I can ask you in this limited amount of time. What about every cookie has a story?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I love that because there's so many use cases, and I'm doing a little a couple fun little things I'm doing here internally with my team. Is I have a map. We ship nationally, and I'm just kind of curious. I'm pretty sure we've touched every state, but I want to make sure that we have. Like cookies have traveled the entire United States multiple times, of course. Unfortunately, we don't ship internationally right now. But the other thing is the sheer number of use cases, like how the cookies can be shared and why they're shared is endless. It's just completely endless. So for whether it be employee appreciation, corporate gifting, product launches, trade shows, conventions, it's endless. It's endless. So there's like almost a reason for every cookie. Making a difference, fundraising. I mean, school spirit. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So that's why I just kind of love that every cookie has a story, because it does. I mean, my information gathering, I sometimes ask my prospective clients questions, and they're probably thinking like, why do you need to know all this? We just want to order cookies. Like, come on, but our form is, not too long. It's pretty quick, but I do ask some pointed questions, like, where's the event? When is the event? Who, how many people are attending? Where are they coming from, and where are they going, in a sense of like, because then it allows me to make the best presentation. I mean, if I had $1 for every time someone said, well, yeah, we want the Clearview bags with the ribbon and the tag, but then I find out that they're going to be offering them for dessert. Well, let's talk about our platter presentations. But see, then they want the wrapping. Well, you know what? We can take our platter presentations and we can wrap them for you. So, I try to figure out like, what is the best presentation for you? I had a client that was ordering via our e-commerce cookie kits. And I thought, this is great. Every year they order like 50 kits. We ship them out. And then they have a new contact. And so she called me. She goes, I just had a quick question. Can we get extra frosting? And I'm like, nice to meet you. Let's try how that's going. And then she explained what they were doing with these cookie kits. I'm like, oh my Lord, I wish I would have known that. And so now they're going to get a better price. They're going to be packaged more properly because they're doing this huge party. So instead of sending them these individual boxes, now we're going to send them all in bulk. And now I've got a much better idea of what their need is. So my shop, if you will, has really gone down. Not that I want people to have to talk to me every time, but that form helps my team be able to give the best quote and the best presentation based on their needs. If that makes any sense. So
it makes a lot of sense. And your ability to customize, but as you grow, one thing that struck me is the way that you're selling cookies, which even though they're the best cookies in the world, they're beautiful, they are copyable. They are copyable. So everything else that you're doing all around this is what sets you apart, because as somebody else could have a cookie that's probably not the same, but maybe good enough. And
I mean, there's some big brands out there that you can order logo cookies today, tonight, and they'll show up on your door tomorrow. I mean, you will pay a lot, but they will show up. But you know what? We don't do next day because we have a process. We make everything from scratch. We make all the frosting from scratch. We make all of our own colors so we can brand match your colors. There's a drying technique to make sure that every cookie arrives intact and not smeared. Okay, go order those cookies, have them show up tomorrow. Tell me how many broke and how many are smeared and how do they taste? Because you know what? Those cookies have been sitting on a shelf somewhere waiting for that order to come in. All right, let's go. They need 300 cookies. Let's get them in a box and ship them out today. We don't do that. We don't want to do that. That's not what we do. And I've declined orders. I not to tell people too much what our internal process is, but I let them know. Unfortunately, there is a process for drying, and we take great care before we send them. So we do need a buffer. And the reality is, there are 1 million bakeries out there, 1 million bakeries. And we're making cookies, but you know what? We're personalizing them. They taste amazing. And the responsiveness and the service, like our event planners, they're busy. They're busy. They're not bakers, and swag. Don't even get me started on swag. There's so much swag out there. And I think cookies is like, of course, I'm a little favorable.
Biased.
I am a little bit, but you know what? I don't know. There was some program I watched about all the clothes and the pens and the shoes and all that stuff that you get at conferences. And where does it go? In a landfill.
I know, right?
Okay. This way, at least you get your swag. You get to look at it, take a picture with it, post it to Instagram, and then you get to eat it. And then all you're left with is a little piece of packaging.
Right. I'm all for that because at my age, I tell people, don't give me things. It has to be something I can use. And eating is one way to use things. So
Share. So if you don't want to eat them, you can share them with someone else. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine wouldn't get shared, but maybe some people would. As we close out, I want to talk about the fact that you do help other hobbyists turn their hobbies into businesses. So you want to talk about that and then also where people can find you online as we close out?
Yeah, no problem. So I kind of the person that just kind of can't sit still. And so I realized that people were asking, I was doing some in-person decorating parties and some folks were asking about, my journey. And so I thought I'll just start a Facebook group and I can answer questions. And I mean, I have close to 5,000 people in my group. And, I get in there as much as I can. Just last Sunday, I did a masterclass. We were talking about sales strategies, if you will, how to get more visibility. But I do have a website, AnnetteConrad.com. So Hobby to Business Made Simple, inspired by Donald Miller, his Business Made Simple. I love
story, books. And story brand, right?
Yeah. And so I just love sharing. So a lot of what's on my website, there's a lot of free resources. I am more than willing to share for those that are thinking about it or have made the leap, but they're just not sure what to do next. I'm hoping that I can kind of inspire people. It's not my livelihood. It's not something that I'm looking to build revenue on right now. It's kind of my side gig, if you will. So, because I like to talk. And now that I left Marquette, I don't get that interaction every day and all day with all those people I used to see. So creating this way of teaching and meeting people online has been a nice outlet for me. But then I also have my virtual decorating experiences too, through Edible Impressions that we do. We ship out our decorating kits. But yeah, you can also find me at edibleimpressions.net. So that's our company website. And I say our because we are women-owned, but family-run. So I do have a team, and most of my team members are all family. So it's really fun.
Yeah. So edibleimpressions.net. Big distinction there.
Correct.
So find Annette there and look at those beautiful cookies.
Yeah. And you can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn primarily. I do have an Instagram page and Facebook. And Hobby to Business Made Simple is the cookie decorating Hobby to Made Simple website.
Hobby to Business Made Simple. Is that .com?
No, actually just go to AnnetteConrad.com.
Okay.
And it will get you everywhere. Yeah.
Or at AnnetteConrad.com. And I will put those links in the show notes so everyone can find that. Annette, this has been fascinating. Really fun. We could have gone on and on, but we've got only 30 minutes. So I'm going to end it here and just say thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. I really do appreciate your time and hope this has been helpful for a few folks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Uncopyable Women in Business. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the show. That helps me a lot. And be sure to visit the Moose Market at beuncopyable.com/store for more great uncopyable shortcuts. See you next time, and always remember to be uncopyable.